I want to bring in Mario Gabelli, who is joining us to talk some stock picks and more, the chairman of GAMCO. Great to have you here, Mario. I want to start with a little bit of macro, if you will.
Sure,
what needs to happen here for the stock market after this big 30% run-up off the lows?
Well, I think basically you go back to a supply chain healthcare, and we have to address the healthcare. And we obviously in the second quarter, earnings dynamics are coming out. You saw what happened to the banks. You saw what happened to the oils, an unprecedented decline. Travel and leisure are still in the work in progress stage. From that point of view, though, at some point in the next 3 or 4 weeks, we'll have better testing, as you're seeing at an accelerating rate. You worry about the second wave of COVID, but that's another air pocket. But as you look into 2021, the Fed has gone into hypersonic. That's like a Mach 4 as a missile as opposed to a 1 Mach. You go into the fiscal policy. You just had CARES Act Part 2. You're going to have an infrastructure bill. There's going to provide a lot of dynamics. And I think a year from now, you're going to look back and see some significant buying opportunities that are being created today.
Mario, it looks like from the picks you've discussed elsewhere and up until now, they're pretty cyclical. These seem like very core kind of industrial picks that you would want to be in if we're coming out of a recessionary period. Is that the way to play this? A reflation trade, essentially?
I was a sell-side analyst 50 years ago covering a lot of cyclicals. You ask simple questions, and the conglomerates of the 80s, of the 60s, 1960s, so nobody thinks it's 1860s. First, you look at what is the leading indicator, what's a coincidental indicator, what's lagging, and then you look at what is structurally changing. The Industrial Revolution has given way to the digital revolution. Today we're experiencing a lot of digital, even in the TD Ameritrade and the world that we're a part of. And so as a result of that, you say, how bad is bad? How long is it going to take, and how good is good? And then what happens when how good is good? What happens to those companies that are in the automation field, artificial intelligence, and what happens in things like streaming music and those kind of dynamics, Oliver.
So these are some of the plays.
I got two $45 stocks that are in kind of quasi-utilities. One is owned by Nextera, and that is Nextera Partners, and they just laid out this morning a stock that I've been recommending, their cash flow characteristics, the renewable dynamics. For example, Google just entered into a deal with a company called Madison Gas and Electric, where they're taking on the entire power from one of their wind farms. And these two companies are very attractive for both conservative portfolios looking for current returns and for structural growth. So before you wanted to buy gummies, you wanted to buy gold, but now you want to add also some growth to the portfolio, and growth cyclicals are kind of intriguing. Both of those are examples. In the industrial world, clearly we're going to have a lag effect to when Boeing restarts. They've got 800 planes out there that have to be put in motion again, 400 which are in their parking lots. But we're going to do that. The defense sector and the budgets are strong, so aviation and defense. For example, we started a Space Force in the United States. They're going to put money in. Who makes the rockets? Who makes the fuel? Companies like Aerojet benefit. Eileen Drake is doing a great job there. That's why I picked that one. It's called industrial, but it's really part of a defense dynamic.
AJRD, Aerojet Rocketdyne.
That's it. Eileen Drake's done a good job there. The stock's another $45 stock, so you've got 340s. There are a lot
Mario,
more
we heard...
and then you've got an infrastructure bill. What companies will benefit when we start repairing the roads and the bridges, the airports, or not airports, but commercial and industrial activity?
Yeah. I got two specific stock questions for you, Mario. One on Aerojet Rocketdyne. About a year ago, a short seller at Spruce Point said that the company had pension problems and was going to run up against problems against Blue Origin and others in the space. Do you see that as a secular risk to this stock?
There's no question that SpaceX and Blue Origin are with their type of dynamics. When you put up satellites, LEOs, and so on, those things are replaced every 3 years, 4 years of life cycles, and so there's a significant demand there. Obviously, we have companies like Avio in Europe, but I don't want to get into non-U.S. stocks at the moment, that also benefit. Yeah, I don't find that as structurally offsetting as it is the notion of the amount of money coming into defense. Obviously, the book to build is something that short-term you'll look at.
Right now, there is one pick here that really stands out to me, Mario, and that's the Liberty Braves, the tracking stock. I mean, this is sports, this is stadiums, this is events. There's a lot of people right now who say life is never going to go back to the same. And this is seemingly like the deepest value play maybe you can find here. Do you not believe that life is going to be vastly different?
I think you're 100% right. It'll take a long time before I can go in to watch my Knicks play. They've been playing so well, you can't have a record that they can repeat. But at the same time, Madison Square Garden spun off the Knicks and the Rangers as a new public company. The stock's 178. So if you want to buy a basketball team for a grandchild, you want to buy a baseball team for a granddaughter, if you want to buy a hockey team or a sports team, will we, 2 years from now, are these prices going to look extraordinarily interesting? Are you going to get long-term capital gain for your client as opposed to short-term ordinary income by trading? Those are the dynamics that one has to ask. And investing versus trading, from an investing point of view, I like owning a piece of a baseball team. And whether or not they have a playoff in Arizona and bring everybody down there, I can't answer that. But clearly, the dynamics will change. You have to have a lot more in place in the healthcare before they go back. Virtual games are played on the field. For example, in Florida, Oliver, hard to believe this, but worldwide wrestling got labeled essential service by the state of Florida, so they're going to do events because they're testing everyone that gets into the arena. So there's a lot of dynamics. Yet right now you can buy Atlanta Braves at $17, $18 by the voting stock. Our clients own 20% of the vote. John Malone, that controls this company, and Greg Maffei, that control it through Liberty, will at some point find somebody that will buy it. And it'll be materially higher price.
Mario, one group here that I see absent is energy. The only energy company you've got here that I see is a renewable energy stock with NextEra. Is the crude pain only beginning? If there is a deep recession?
You'll have a lot of bankruptcies in the next 3 months that'll have a ripple effects on banks. It'll have a ripple effect on a lot of areas. You have to look through this. Production is going to come down, but the Chinese consumer will benefit dramatically, and China will have an extraordinarily important impact on global trade and the global economies as well as the United States. While we're not driving today, those that are driving are seeing. I filled up my oil tank. You know, I hate to tell you that I paid like 30 cents on a dollar of what I paid a year ago. And so there are benefits. We are a net consumer in the United States, even with the cutback in production that's accelerating. Oliver, that is going to be an interesting trade-off. Right now, the negatives are obvious.
Yeah. All right, so no energy, and it doesn't sound like you're crazy about banks either. Mario, appreciate you walking us through the picks here and what you're looking at in this market. Mario Gabelli, thanks a lot for being with us.
Thanks. You've been delighted to be here, and our team likes it. Janice Musselwhite is part of our team that covers everyone in the system. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Gabelli. He's the chairman and CEO at Gamco Investors.